Welcome back to our series, Part 3 of Unveiling the Untold Jamaican Don's Gangsta Chronicles. In this episode, we unveiled the chilling stories of 4 infamous figures who shaped the island's history with their crime sprees. First, meet Dennis Copper Barth, the ruthless leader of the Hot Steppers gang in the 1970s. Then delve into the reign of General Starkey, a feared enforcer who wreaked havoc in Arnett Gardens and Jonestown. Finally, discover the captivating tale of Vincent Martin, known as Ryging, whose daring escapades gripped Jamaica in the late 1940s. Subscribe now for more gripping true crime stories. Number 1. Dennis Copper Barth. Dennis Copper Barth rose to infamy as one of the notorious rude boys of the 1970s, leader of the Hot Steppers gang, a period marked by heightened criminal activity in Jamaica. Renowned for his brazen acts of violence, Barth earned a reputation as one of the most dangerous criminals of his era, though the extent of his notoriety remains subject to interpretation. Reports depict his crimes as if plucked from the scripts of Hollywood crime epics, with Barth seemingly reenacting scenes from popular criminal mastermind movies. The landscape of law enforcement in 1970s Jamaica was vastly different from today, with the police force deemed less equipped to handle the likes of Barth and his ilk. Armed to the teeth, criminals like Barth held the upper hand, often wielding bigger and more powerful weapons than the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, could muster. Barth's formative years were marred by exposure to criminal elements engaged in warfare against the state, leading him to adopt an ideology that politicized crime. By the tender age of 18, Barth had already amassed a rap sheet brimming with major offenses, including the murder of a policeman, for which he received a life sentence. Behind bars, Barth immersed himself in literature that armed him with guerrilla tactics against the state, further cementing his reputation as a formidable adversary. Despite his notoriety, detailed eyewitness accounts of Barth's exploits are scant, a testament to the aura of fear surrounding him. Yet many law enforcement veterans of his era deemed him a public enemy, attributing him with leadership of the Hot Steppers gang of East Kingston, notorious for a spate of bank robberies in the tumultuous 1970s. Barth's brushes with the law were marked by daring escapes from incarceration, solidifying his status as a cold-blooded fugitive. Such was the intensity of fear and loathing towards him that a hefty bounty was placed on his head. In a dramatic turn of events, Barth's reign of terror met its end during a botched robbery attempt at Caymanas Park on April 30th, 1978. Recognized by police while ascending an escalator, Barth engaged in a fatal shootout, resulting in his demise and the loss of a law enforcement officer's life. Number 2. Anthony General Starkey Tingle. General Starkey, born Anthony General Starkey Tingle, was a notorious figure in Jamaica's criminal underworld during the 1970s. Alongside his partner in crime known as Hutch and their gang, Starkey held sway over the Arnett Gardens and Jonestown communities, particularly after the fall of Burry Boy and Feathermop in 1975. In the vacuum left by their predecessors, Starkey and Hutch seized the opportunity to establish their dominance, filling the void with a reign of terror marked by violence and intimidation. This period coincided with Jamaica's turbulent political landscape, where young men from impoverished areas were lured into the world of political thuggery. Their rise to prominence took inspiration from the popular American television series Starsky and Hutch, from which they adopted their monikers. However, their actions went far beyond mere imitation, as they unleashed a wave of criminality that gripped the communities they controlled. Despite efforts to broker peace, tensions simmered beneath the surface, leading to a tragic breakdown in relations between rival factions. Starkey's gang was implicated in various acts of violence and criminality, perpetuating a cycle of fear and instability. General Starkey's notoriety grew as he orchestrated violent clashes with law enforcement, symbolizing his brazen defiance of authority. His confrontations with the police, including a daring encounter with Trinity, a resilient officer, highlighted his audacity and disregard for the law. Despite facing charges and fleeing the country to Canada, General Starkey's reign of terror persisted until his eventual demise. On June 1, 1981, law enforcement launched a raid on a house where Starkey and his associates were hiding. In a dramatic shootout, Starkey and 7 of his cronies, including his brother Michael McLeod, were killed. The death of General Starkey marked the end of an era in Jamaica's criminal underworld. His legacy serves as a stark reminder of the violence and instability that plagued the country during the 1970s. Number 3. Vincent Martin. Vincent Martin, born in Linstead, St. Catherine, Jamaica, spiraled into a life of crime during his teenage years upon relocating to Kingston. Despite his diminutive stature and soft-spoken demeanor, Martin compensated by cultivating a fearsome reputation for extreme violence. His criminal record commenced at the tender age of 14 with a conviction for wounding, followed by subsequent brushes with the law for offenses ranging from larceny to robbery. Under various aliases including Ivanhoe, Alan Ladd, and Captain Midnight, Martin embarked on a brazen spree of self-dramatization, representing himself in court during a highly publicized trial for robbery in 1946. Following a brief period of incarceration, he swiftly resumed his criminal activities, culminating in a daring escape from prison on April 30th, 1948. What ensued was a harrowing 6-week rampage through the streets of West Kingston, punctuated by audacious confrontations with law enforcement. Dubbed Rijing by the Daily Gleaner newspaper, Martin's notoriety soared as reports of his violent exploits captured the public's imagination. The intensity of his crimes reached a chilling crescendo when Martin fatally targeted Lucille Tibby Young, the girlfriend of an individual he believed had betrayed him. He left a trail of carnage in his wake, with further victims wounded or killed in his relentless pursuit of vengeance. Martin's brazen defiance of authorities was underscored by an open letter to Detective Sergeant Scott, wherein he boasted of his criminal prowess and declared his intent to evade capture. Despite efforts to apprehend him, Martin continued to evade capture, resorting to acts of robbery to fund his flight from justice. In a dramatic climax, Martin's life came to a violent end on September 9, 1948, during a police raid on his hideout at Lime Cay. Engaging in a desperate shootout, Martin succumbed to multiple gunshot wounds, ending his reign of terror at the age of 24. In the years following his demise, Martin's life and crimes became the stuff of legend in Jamaican popular culture, immortalized in films such as The Harder They Come, cementing his legacy as one of the most notorious figures in criminal history. Number 4. Lester Lloyd Coke, aka Jim Brown. Lester Lloyd Coke, also known as Jim Brown, emerged as a prominent figure in Jamaica's criminal underworld as the mastermind behind the Shower Posse, a notorious gang operating from the Tivoli Gardens Garrison community in West Kingston. Notably, Coke's involvement in the shooting of Bob Marley on December 3, 1976 was highlighted in the Netflix documentary Remastered: Who Shot the Sheriff. Following the demise of Claudius Massop, Coke's mentor and the former leader of Tivoli Gardens, Coke assumed leadership and co-founded the Shower Posse alongside Vivian Blake. This transition marked the beginning of the gang's notorious reign, dealing in cocaine and cannabis trade across Jamaica and the United States, and sadly being associated with numerous homicides in both countries. In 1990, Coke's criminal activities caught the attention of the United States Department of Justice, leading to indictments against him and other gang members. Subsequently, Coke was apprehended by Jamaican authorities and detained at the General Penitentiary in Kingston, awaiting extradition to the United States to face charges of drug trafficking and murder. Tragically, in February 1992, Coke faced another blow with the violent death of his eldest son, Mark Ja T. Coke. Shortly after this devastating loss, a fire erupted in Coke's cell, resulting in his death under suspicious circumstances, sparking speculation of foul play. The year 1992 was further marked by tragedy for the Coke family as Mark Coke was shot and killed while riding his motorcycle down Maxfield Avenue in St. Andrews. Additionally, Coke's daughter, known as Mumpy, lost her life in a shootout alongside her husband. With the passing of his eldest son, Christopher Coke, Coke's youngest son ascended to the leadership of the Shower Posse, continuing the legacy of criminality and violence associated with the organization. As we conclude Part 3 of our series on infamous figures from Jamaica's criminal underworld, it's clear that the legacies of Dennis Copper Barth, General Starkey, and Lester Lloyd Coke leave a lasting imprint on the island's history. From Barth's audacious exploits as a rude boy to Starkey's reign of terror in Arnett Gardens and Jonestown, and Coke's founding of the notorious Shower Posse, these individuals epitomize the tumultuous era of 1970s Jamaica. Despite their notoriety, their stories serve as cautionary tales of the consequences of crime and violence. As we reflect on their lives, let's also remember the victims and communities affected by their actions. Join us for more riveting stories in our series on Jamaica's criminal underworld. Don't forget to catch up on Parts 1 and 2 if you haven't already, and stay tuned for future updates. If you enjoy and would like a Part 4, please comment Part 4.